Hi everyone, welcome back to Rich's Garage and my first modeling building video in several months. You can see in the background there I still have the big rig build, the 2018 big rig build that still needs to be finished. They've already announced the 2019, obviously I won't be doing that until I finish this one. But you may notice in the background a different hue of paint on the walls. This is part of the HO scale switching layout that I'm going to be building. So I got this all painted up in this little cove here where my workbench is. I was able to put the workbench back because this painting is done, and so I decided to celebrate by weathering a caboose here that I've been wanting to do. So I figured I would you take a peek at what I'm doing here, and this is an Atlas caboose. I've had it for several years, and I decided to do some weathering on it. I have an RS1 that's in the simplified McGinnis scheme that I've already weathered, and this is the caboose for it. So I'm going to reposition the camera and we'll get started. Okay, so now that I've got this repositioned, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some masking tape and put it over the windows, and I'm going to use, if you saw my lowboy trailer, I use predominantly oil paints for that weathering. This one I'm going to do a little bit with craft acrylics, and then I'll seal this with a flat finish. If I don't like the way it's coming out, I may wind up going back and putting a little, going back with the oil paints. But I'm also going to use oil pastels, which I used on that trailer as well. So I want to just cover the windows so I don't have to worry about it so much. Let's see, I have to trim this down. So I'm going to edit this part out. It's going to take me a little bit to do this, and you'll see it when it's done. Okay, so we have the windows maxed off. I'll show you the ends. On the end, once I take the mask off, I'll do some hand weathering. I'm not concerned about fingers getting in there, so I'm not worried about having to reseal that with the flat coat. But for the sides, I wanted to get that done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the wheels. These are the stock wheels on this truck. This is a resistive wheel set that for signaling systems you want to have a resistive wheel set, or you solder a resistor across with metal wheels so it can be detected by a block detector, and then you can have your signal logic. I noticed when I was masking this that this has re-rail frogs on here. I have to look and see if New Haven painted them yellow or orange. I'll probably just rust them for now, and then if I have to go over it, I'll figure that part out. But what I'm going to do for the wheels, I think I'm going to go with a, let's see, this is burnt umber. I'm just going to try and shake this up for a little bit, because I just want to knock down that shine. The wheels are never painted, so this way inspectors can see if they're cracked, and so really they just wind up rusting and getting oil from the journals and stuff. So I'm just going to get a small brush. Let's see here. Let's try this and just have a go and see what this looks like. And I could pop these out, but I'm just a little lazy. I don't feel like popping them out of the trucks, so I'm just going to basically just rotate this around. A lot of people airbrush them, and they have these little jigs that protect the tip of the axle, but this works for me. I kind of like that. It gets a little bit uneven. Also, since this is a caboose, I'm painting the outside flange. If it was a boxcar, if the boxcar's going down being sawed in a hump yard where they have the braking retarders, that would polish the outer flange, but not for this guy. So this just gives me a little bit more control. So that's basically what that looks like. Again, I'm going to pause here, so I'm going to do all of them. I may do one, we'll blend in a little bit of raw sienna, we'll see. But for right now, I'll just go to stick with this raw umber. Okay, so let's take a look at the wheels. So this is just a quick first coat, just like I did on, you saw when I did the first ones. So the nice thing with the acrylics is that they're dry quick. So now if there's a little spot in here I want to come back, I can either come in with another color, or I can just come back and quickly, let's get my finger on that so I can stop it. That'd be nice. Let's try that again. Let's go there. And just knock that down. I mean, it's the nice thing about this is you get the different shading. You're not trying to completely make it all uniform, because that's not how it would rust anyway. But I'm just looking to knock down the bright parts. You can see even did the back of the wheels. You can see the difference between the original finish and this, and anything on the treadle just wear off. That's not a big deal. And let's see the other side. So here this one looks like it's a little bright. So that's one thing with the light. If it jumps right back out at you like that, then it probably needs a little bit more. What I'm looking for is like a 1969 type of a weathering on this, right before, as New Haven went into Penn Central. So you see my paint's a little dry. It's picking off the paint. I gotta make this a little. There we go. Let's come back. So it's as simple as that, but it kind of makes at least to me, it makes a pretty big difference on the layout. So, alright, so that's that. Let's see anything in here. I think we'll go with that. Now, one thing with the underside of this is I could use this to test some coloring if I wanted to use this as a rust. So that would probably need to be a little bit lighter if I want to use that. Let's see here. So if I tap a little raw sienna on top of that, and then the pigment. Nope, not enough paint there. I gotta shake this up. Alright, I'm gonna try a couple of things on here, and then we'll come back. Let me get you caught up on some of the things I was doing just with this one brush and with the raw sienna and the burnt umber. I'm just doing little dabs of paint to give it a little rust look, just little spots here and there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend all this with the pastel chalk. So I'm just going to show you a little, just get a little bit of paint on the tip of this little brush, and I'm just lightly tapping in spots. I'm not even, just kind of spreading it out randomly. It's almost like little chicken feet. And then I come back, that's the burnt umber, and then I give a little, just take a little bit of the raw sienna around the same spots, pretty much, to give it the different layers of rust. Let's get a little more paint. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm also going to do this on the roof. Okay, so the battery died in the camera. Now it's all charged up. I'm going to continue doing this dabbing technique on the whole caboose, and when that's all done, we'll come back and go on to the next steps. Let me show you where we're at right now. You can see that this half is pretty much done, at least with the acrylic paints. A couple things that I did, if you look for the brake cylinder, I used some folk art metallic. This is, what is this called? I guess that's just it, metallic. Here we go, gunmetal gray, that's what I use. And I also used that on these two back chains just to figure that they would probably be less likely to just turn to rust. So that's those guys. The couplers, these are KD 158 couplers, the scale size couplers, and these I painted with let's see, with the raw sienna, the straight raw sienna, because just like the wheels, they're unfinished metal, so they can inspect them. What I decided to do is I added a little bit of yellow ochre. So let me just show you what the basic setup is here. Excuse me, I had to get some more paint here. Alright, so what I do is I start with the dark, so this is the burnt umber, and that's my base rust, and I just dab it on like this. Alright, so it's on there. Then I come in and I get this is the raw sienna, and this helps pull out the texture. So I just, not as much, just where I want to put it. It gives it that little bit of contrast because you rarely get just one shade of rust. I'm going to get a little bit more of that. So since it's still wet, they'll blend a little bit, and then depending on how much you want, you can just keep going over it. So now if I want a little bit more of a bright spot, this is the yellow ochre, and this goes a long way, but just if I was to do that, you see how that gives that, it actually gives a little bit of an orangey color based on the other two colors already being down, so that's more of a newer rust. And then if you think it's too bright, you can always just come back to the darker color, either one. This is the burnt sienna. And let me just get a little bit more off the brush, and then just lightly dab over that, and that just pushes it back into the body. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to continue, do the other side, and I noticed I didn't mask the end windows. I have to do that. Then we'll go into the pastels. I finished painting the caboose, or doing the weathering. And what I did was I let it sit overnight to let this side dry before I started on the other side. This way it was easier to handle. And I put I covered up the windows on the end, so the roof's all done. The re-railing frogs, I was looking for pictures. I didn't see any re-railing frogs in any of the New Haven caboose pictures I saw, so I just went with rusting them over. The other thing I did see in looking for pictures with the frogs was that the New Haven had their windows were white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pastels on this now, then seal it. When it all dries, then I'll go back and do the white around the windows, just in case something gets messed up. I'll have more of an opportunity if I use the acrylics to get the white off without messing any of the weathered finish. So what I'm going to do now is, let's just set this in here. This keeps the chalk from going all over the place. Okay. Come on. Let's go. There we go. What I have here is just all chalks in here, and then as I finish with a project, I just dump the leftovers in here, and it just basically makes its own mixture. If I want a specific color, then I just go in and get the color. But all I'm going to do is, I'm going to probably off camera here a little bit, see if we can do it this way. See if we do this. I'm using a thin brush. A lot of times if I just want to do something broad, you use a big fluffy brush. This is a makeup brush. But this is pretty easy. Just go in, get some basically dust, and then pick a spot, and then just start to put it on. So let me get a little bit more here. And it's a subtle thing. Let me see. Let me get a little bit more. I guess I'm missing a little bit of not getting as much as I want. So if you need more, I have a little piece of sandpaper in here. What I'll do is I'll just get this with the sandpaper. That's the way I usually do. Some people use a knife. And I like oil pastels. Just what I had started out using, and that was what I wound up using. This is a violet, which I like better than just a black. It gives a little bit more color. Now the one thing you have to be careful is when you get this on your fingers, you don't want to be handling the model too much because you'll leave fingerprints. But let's come in here and what this is going to do is just blend in the little paint dots. So you can see it's I'm hoping you can pick this up, but it's very subtle. So you see how that gives that just a little bit different hue. If you look in here, it takes the shine off. You don't have to do the whole caboose. I mean, you can leave spots that give a little contrast, but I'm going to use some different colors on this. But this is just giving it the blend, and the rivets will, it'll really pick up the chalk well. But if you look at a lot of northeast type of weathering, it's not really sandy like if you're out west. It's more of this darker type of a thing. So you see, this goes pretty quick. And what I'll do is I'm going to add a little bit of, let's see. I said you really can't go wrong. It's not like you can mess this up. The one nice thing with the, if you're concerned about it, you could seal the paint portion and then come in with the pastels. And this way, if you don't like the pastels, you can just wash it off. So the other thing too is you don't even have to use the pastels. I mean, if you're happy with what you're doing there, just seal it with a flat finish, and you're done. So you don't have to go out and even find pastels or anything like that. It's not like for a couple bucks of acrylic paint at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or one of those stores, you can easily do weathering like this. Now I've also just, some people just airbrush quickly, and I've done airbrushing and stuff like that, but this is a part of the hobby that I like a lot, so I prefer to do some hand weathering. Now it's going to be a little difficult because this is orange on orange, but you can see how it does lighten some things up, and this is good for just going over the pieces that are oranges, dulling it without making it look too obvious. And there you go. So I'm going to continue doing this. I just wanted to show you what the technique is, and then when it's all sealed, we'll come back and see how it looks. I just wanted to show you the contrast between not doing anything. This piece of the roof I haven't put any chalk on, and the rest I have. So you see how it kind of blends everything together. There's where I don't want too much rust looking. This is that violet. I can just come in here and go over where the paint is, and you see how that just kind of blends in. You can still see the little rust beneath it, but it gives it a darker, more weathered rust look. Now if I want something a little bit brighter, this is this particular one is called Permanent Deep Red, but it's basically an orange. I can come in, and now that's going to be way too bright from what I want this to look like, but I just keep working it till all the excess is off. Come back into the violet and go right over it, and now it's subtle. So you see how it takes the shine off of the plastic and it gives them more lighting. So here, if I want to put a little bit more on the walkway, and then just the more you work it in, it goes away. So that's what I'm really doing here. You see how that gives a nice blending. And that one I'm actually going to leave like that. I kind of like that. I'm just going to put a little touch back in here of the violet. And then this will wind up getting more muted once I hit it with the flat. The flat will actually wash it down a little bit. I just want a little bit of black, which I haven't used yet. And this I'm going to kind of put more around here for soot. And what I'm just holding the railings in back so I don't get my fingerprints all over the place. But this part here, I'm just going to go with a lot of this black here. Alright, so we have the side that I've done, the side that I haven't done, and here's the roof. So I have to do a little bit on the ends. Also the couplers I painted with that what was it, raw sienna. They still function clean because you know, again, this is the casting. I may or may not have mentioned that before, but I'm going to finish up and then I'll coat. Now let me give you one other thing while I have you here. And I just used some chalks on the bottom just to dull it up a little bit in case you know, it's going over a bridge. I have to get in here and do the sills because I don't want this all shiny. So just getting a little bit in there. A bit of rust on here. That's one nice thing. You just keep going over it and it'll go away. If you think you got it too dark, I could even come in here with some black if I wanted to, and start to mute that down. And it's more subtle again. Alright, I'm going to keep going. Let's have a look at the finished caboose. Now what I did is I used this matte clear. There's many brands you can use. I just wanted to spray this out of the can. One thing that you have to watch with spraying out of the can is that a lot comes out. If you look close, and it doesn't really hurt the effect of this model, there's a slight little run there. You really can't tell when you're looking at it, you know, unless you're looking for it. Typically what I would do is decant this into a jar and spray it from an airbrush. But for one caboose I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it simple. But that's why what I used to, that's the matte finish that I use. So you can see how it blends everything in. And it does knock back the pastels quite a bit. But it does give the an overall uniformity to everything. Now the windows, I brush painted. This is a full art paintbrush, and I just used folk art, regular you know, craft acrylic white, and just with a little bit of paint, no water really, almost like using as little paint as possible, going in and doing the border. Up here wasn't as defined from a detail standpoint, so it was a little bit more challenging. But the one thing with a toothpick, if you get anything on the window or even on the paint, you can just, as soon as it happens, just come in and just use this to remove it, and that works out fine. And just be careful you don't scratch up the windows, but you can use a little to take any little paint off of that. I wasn't looking for perfect coverage because it's a weathered caboose. And you can see where, maybe on the other side it may show a little bit more. I wasn't so concerned with tightly masking because the clear coat will wind up giving that foggy look, almost like the windows were cleaned but not completely. I didn't attempt to do the white on the on the end windows. There's just not enough detail. They're small, and it really wasn't worth it to me to get in there with this brush, and I know I'd wind up getting paint more on the model and on the window. I'd be spending more time cleaning than I would getting it on. The other thing that reinforced that was it's almost impossible to get in here, with a brush to, make sure you get on here. I mean, you could do it if you really, really wanted to, but I chose not to. I mean, it would be tough to get this side. I'd be coming over here, and to me, the effect is more of what I was looking for. If this is sitting on the track, I'm okay with not having it on the end. If for some reason it really bothers me, I can always go back and attempt it. That's the one thing about applying the matte finish first, and then coming in with the paint. I could easily take this off with some water if I wanted to. But there she is. She's all done. And I'm pretty happy with it. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed watching this, and we'll see you next time.